And here we are, live Bruins Beat after a 4-3 loss to Tampa. I'm Evan Marinofsky, joined by Mark Divver. We're presented by Prize Picks. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And of course, remember to go subscribe to Bruins Ringside on YouTube. We're going to be doing more of these, which the reaction after the home opener or the season opener was great, which was great. So we'll have more of these. And make sure if you don't like watching us, you can go subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. Bruins Beat, Poke the Bear, Pucks with the Hags on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get them. And there's lots of other great CLNS stuff too. Celtics All Access, Patriots Press Pass. They are in full swing. I'm Evan Marinofsky. Mark Divver. Mark, what'd you think?
Well, they're 3-1 after 4 games. I think a lot of us, would take that. Will take that after 4 games. I think there's been a lot of positives. I think today, that first period wasn't good. It looked like it might get away from them, but it didn't. And I think that's not that there's any moral victories here, but the fact that they were able to battle back and make a game of it right down to the end is a good sign, because last year, we saw games like this get away from them a number of times, and that didn't happen. So
that was one of my big takeaways too. Was like, if this was last year, they lose that game 7-2. That's an easy 7-2 loss. Pack it in, and that's what it felt like, especially with those early goals, and then they give one up the second second period starts too, and it's like, all right, well, this is the way it's going to go today, and they were due for one of these, and they clawed back. They had a lot of chances. They had chances early too. They just couldn't get sticks on pucks, things like that. I think the first thing we can talk about is those turnovers early. I mean, McAvoy doesn't sense the pressure behind him, gets his pocket picked, leads to a goal. Zadorov, blatant turnover, leads straight to a goal. He's running around the zone. And then Peak also sort of turned the puck over, kind of flung off his stick and up the boards. They immediately capitalized on that. Again, I think it just shows the margin for error with this team is so thin that, defense is supposed to be a strong suit for them. It wasn't in the first, 2 periods of this game. And they got fortunate at the other end too. I mean, Tampa's defense wasn't great. Their goaltending certainly wasn't great, but I think it goes to show the margin of error that they have is very, very, very thin this year. Especially your D can't be turning pucks over like that.
No, you can't. You can't at all. And they, obviously those things are correctable. They're fixable. It's just a question of getting it right. And, the guys making those errors, let's face it, they're guys making big money, and you don't expect that from them, but it's the NHL, and things like that happen. And when it's a team with the offensive firepower of Tampa Bay, then there's a lot of times they're going to make you pay, and they did.
They did. And McAvoy had a rough one today. I mean, I'm not saying anything new. McAvoy had a bad one. Played a lot of minutes, obviously, there at the end, but defensively, pucks, all that stuff, I thought he had a rough one. And I mean, again, I do give them credit. Like Michael just said, safe to say they're not going to tank this year. Down 3-0 and 4-1, came back to make a game of it. I agree. They don't look like a tanking team. And I don't think either of us, Mark, thought that they were going to be a tanking team. But I think if there was any doubt, I know it's only 4 games in, but they don't look like a team that's tanking. I mean, right now they're getting production from everywhere. Geeky scores one today. Middlestat scores one. Jordan Harris jumps in on a 2-on-1. Props to Jordan Harris, by the way. He's kind of a 6th, 7th defenseman stepping up there in a 2-on-1. Most guys are like, I got to pass this off. I can't, this is a primary scoring chance. I can't be the one taking this shot. He shoots it. It clearly, I don't know if it was a pre-scout on Johansson, but low blocker seemed to be the move on him. But props to Jordan Harris.
He's played well in the 2 games. And, he shot from distance. It wasn't like he went in right on top of the goalie and fired it. He was out there and, got the shot off. And that may have fooled, or caught the goalie a little bit, unawares, not expecting a shot at that point. But, he didn't look like a 7th defenseman today. That's what he is. But, at this point, I don't know how you could expect more from the guy. 2 games in, he's played well. He's done everything they want him to do.
2 games, 2 points. So
Yeah.
when Hampus Lindholm comes back, which I want to talk about in a bit, it's like, who's coming out? Harris is kind of playing his way in. I think that he's probably the one out, but I want to talk about Hampus Lindholm in a bit, because I think there's more there. It's been 2 games now, but I think this, in general, getting the scoring that they have, and, look, it's not pretty scoring. I mean, you look at, Geeky's goal was a snipe off a, set play off a draw. That was cool. Harris's is a 2-on-1. You're not expecting that. Middlestat was also a shot from out high too. I mean, it was a nice play, but again, that's just a shot from borderline high danger area. But it was, memory serves, that was kind of the outer part of the slot. They're just shooting the puck. I mean, even against Buffalo on Saturday night, Kastelik just turns and chucks one on net. And I think you're seeing them reap the benefits of just chucking on net. They're not skilled enough to ditzy do with it and do what the Lightning did on that power play late in the game, where it was like bing, bang, boom, and Point has a chance in front. They don't have that skill. So I do like that they've switched to a shot first mentality.
Yeah, I agree. The volume of shots is the way to go for them, given that they don't have the guys who can dangle around and make tic-tac-toe plays. I think just throwing it on the net and getting in there for any rebounds that might be there, that's the way to go, and it's been working so far. So credit to them. If I'm guessing that's the game plan, and it's working.
And I think that's also why you see a guy like Jordan Harris come down. And I think in his mind, in that split second, he's thinking, well, if I pass it over and it gets picked off, what a waste. And if I get too close to the net and the defender knocks the puck away, what a waste. Let me just shoot this thing. And maybe there's a rebound. Maybe it's an offensive zone face-off, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just get the puck on net. Sturm's talked about this a number of times, where it's like he's talked about how he gets annoyed when they fall into bad habits. And by bad habits, he means passing the puck around and trying, to get the best possible chance. And you're seeing more and more, even like, Victor Arvidsson kind of coming down the wing. He's throwing pucks to the middle and trying to get rebounds. And rebounds were aplenty today on Johansson. So like, I think that was the smart move there. I mean, I think when you look back at this game, like I feel this way. I mean, obviously with the Bruins, it's different because there are 82 games, but like with the Patriots, I look back at that Steelers game and go, my God, they had those 5 turnovers. If they have 3 instead of 5, they win that football game. I think you can look at this game. Obviously, the turnovers are bad. McAvoy needs to be better. Zadorov certainly needs to be better with the puck in his own zone. I think that's all true, but you limit 2 of those, you're in a better spot. Like you might be the winner in this game. Like those are very correctable mistakes. They still weren't great defensively in the first half of the game. I thought they were missing a lot of assignments. Korpisalo bailed them out a couple of times, but I don't know. I don't think this is a, oh my God, the Lightning were so much better. They're more skilled than you. I mean, that's like every team, but they like, I give them credit. Today could have been a big letdown, and it wasn't.
Yeah, the Lightning, Stamkos obviously has been gone for over a year now. Kucherov didn't have one of his vintage games today. He certainly was noticeable. He always is, but he, some of the guys who scored are, not household names in the Tampa Bay lineup, but they got enough to get through. And that depth scoring, is important on any team. The Bruins, that's what the Bruins are hoping for, and what every team is hoping for. Not everyone gets it, but so far Boston has. It's been pretty decent so far. I think Middlestat, he's got 2 goals now, right? 2 goals in 4 games. I mean, I'm not the world's biggest Middlestat fan, but he's played well. The goal he got the other night was I forget which game it was. Was it against the Blackhawks? He's right in there in the blue paint. That's where you got to be, to pick up a goal like that. And then today, a nice shot from a good distance. He's looked good. He's looked good.
He has. And I think what makes you kind of like rip your hair out with him is when he has those mid-ice turnovers or kind of lackadaisical turnovers, or, high in the offensive zone. And the last couple of games, those haven't really been there. And I think what you've seen is, as Michael alludes to, he's got a little bit of speed. Arvidsson certainly has it. And it's kind of, it's forcing defenders low in zones. And then Zaka's kind of open higher in the zone. I've noticed is like sort of the third guy high. But Middlestad's vision is good. I mean, you saw it on I think it was the power play, trying to connect with Arvidsson at the far post. Arvidsson, almost knocks it in. Like, I've liked what I've seen from Middlestad so far. I'm with you. Like, I was also with you in like kind of being skeptical. And during camp, when they had him on the third line with not super offensive guys, I was kind of like, what's your plan here? I see it now on that second line. I think that he's in the right spot. He's with the right kind of guys. You get speed in Arvidsson, you get skill in Zach. I think that's a good mix for him.
He has to be with guys who can finish at least a little bit. He can't be with guys who are, chopping the puck up when they get it. He's got to be with guys that at least have a little bit of offense in their game. And we've seen that, I think, so far. And whether he keeps that up, I think coming out of when he was younger and drafted in the first round, I think his vision was one of the things scouts looked at and said, yeah, this guy sees it. And we've seen some of that, and we need to continue to see it and more of it if possible here going forward from him.
It's funny, like you look at some of these guys who started off hot, like Elias Lindholm has looked good so far, Middlestat. And it's funny because last year I remember Middlestat had like 5 points in the first 3 games. I remember thinking like, oh my God, like they're cooking. Like the Bruins are in a good spot with him. And then he completely fell off a cliff for most of the rest of the year. I think the most important thing is this upcoming trip, keeping that going. And I don't think Sturm's going to move off any of these lines. I think we saw Corrali with Jeannot and Acimont very late in the game. But I don't feel the need to change any lines right now. I don't know how you feel.
Well, I wonder if getting a guy like Veal in the lineup at some point in the next couple of games might be an idea. You don't want him sitting out too long. It's been like 2 weeks since he played a game. I believe. If the plan is for him to just be there and throw him in the lineup when they face somebody where there might be a fight, then that's one thing. But putting him in there in the next game, I don't know if there's. Who would come out? I don't know who that would be, but
I don't know either. Because I get the idea from like a perspective of they play, those bottom 2 lines play a really physical game. You can't play 82 games like that. If you got to give a guy a night off, you have VL in the system.
Yeah, would it be? You're not going to take Jeannot out of there. And he's on the third line, I believe now. So I don't know who sits. Acimont's been good. I don't know about his consistency. Maybe they might decide he needs a night off. I don't know. I don't know who it would be. Maybe it's not time for that yet. Maybe they should just roll into the next game with what they have and go from there. If somebody kind of drops the ball a little bit in the next game, then maybe it's time for Veal. Or maybe maybe the plan all along was to get him. Start the season with him, see what happens, and at some point send him down to Providence where, let's face it, I think a lot of us thought that's where he would be and maybe where he belongs. So maybe it kind of would be not great to have him make the team, work hard enough to make the team out of camp and then not even get a game. So I'd be surprised if that were the case, but I don't know. I don't know what the right spot is to plug him in there.
And it's not Hustendinov either, because Hustendinov's on that second power play unit. I do love this comment from Aiden. What a blessing there isn't a guy we all want out of the lineup yet. I'll hand up. I thought 4 games in going out west, I'd be like, yep, change all the lines. Like, this isn't working. I thought the middle six being a blender. It hasn't been. I mean, like, third line has been effective. Minton's been effective and good. And the second line, as we just talked about, like Zaka and Arvidsson and Middlestat, like they've clicked. fourth line's been effective. Like that's why, like, I agree you want to get guys in, but I don't know, lines are kind of working right now. I don't have any
nobody's played their way out of the lineup at this point. Nobody. So I guess you just roll with it until somebody does, if that happens.
It'll happen. At some point it'll happen. There are some comments in here about the team's character and just sort of about, like, I want to get into the Pasternak's empty net save and then they hit on Kucherov, and I want to get into sort of just big picture stuff. But first, our friends, of course, over at Prize Picks. This episode's brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. David Pastrnak is cooking right now. I like him. I like him for points, more points, especially going out west. Same with Morgan Geekie. This was a guy I liked a lot last year for goals. I think he's just sort of starting to heat up. And then wasn't really the case today, but I would assume out west, especially against Vegas, they're going to be a lot of high shot volume. So Jeremy Swayman, more saves against Vegas. I like that. Prize Pick, simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you can cash in. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. It's good to be right. Some interesting comments here. The most we've learned about the team's character so far this year. Joe Magician says, I don't think last year Pasta goes down for save on an empty netter. Then he puts Kucherov through the ice on a check. And then Mike Powers says last year they would have quit 15 minutes into the first period, promising stuff from a loss. Pastrnak, I think there is a real desire for that captaincy. They've put that up for grabs. Now, when Pastrnak goes to block a shot like that, is he thinking, I want to be captain? No, I don't think that's in his head. I think he wants to keep the puck out and keep the game alive, but does show character. Team's best player, getting down, doing the awkward skater trying to be a goalie, make the save, and then put Kucherov through the ice. Like, it's a high character team. It's a high character team.
Well, Pasta's playing like a captain. Yeah, even though he's not, but the stuff he's doing, that performance on opening night was, I think we'll be referring to that for a good part of the year. How good he was, how dominant he was, how he did everything to help them pull out that win. But yeah, the character of the team, you got to like it. It's the old P and V, as Cam Neely puts it. I think they started today without that, and then they worked that into the mix. In the late in the first and into the second, and they played to that identity the rest of the way, and that's they've been talking about rebuilding that identity, that classic Bruins identity. And they're off to a good start with it. They really did play with a lot of character and heart today, for sure.
It's interesting because I thought this team was going to be boring. They're not going to be skilled. The offense will be limited. And through the first period or so, I felt like, all right, starting to see that, starting to see a little bit of that. And I didn't know that we're starting to see what I thought would happen. And then they're physical. They're effective. They keep games close. They do find ways to get offense. Their offense is very, ground and pound, chip and chase. You see it especially with that bottom six, where it's, you saw Kastelik come out as the extra skater for a second there. And his whole thing was just beat the crap out of Tampa's D, and they do almost score from it. Like, they're a likable team. They're a likable team. And maybe it's because they were so unlikable and so bad last year, but I'm watching through 4 games and I'm like, I get why fans like this team. You want to get behind this group. And again, it's 4 games, but they are the way they play, sort of the underdog mentality they have. I can see fans getting behind this team in a way that they definitely weren't last year. And I don't think that they were expecting to this year.
Well, I wouldn't compare them to the famous lunch pail team of Don Cherry back in the day, which I know you're not that familiar with, since it was like 1,000 years before you were born. But
I was negative 15 maybe.
So I wouldn't, exactly compare them to that, but they do have a lunch pail mentality. They're a blue collar group with a couple of stars sprinkled in, and it takes everybody to pull on the rope if they're going to get anywhere, and that's what they're getting so far. And I think you gotta. I was skeptical, and it's only been a handful of games. I was skeptical that Marco Sturm was the right guy, but so far, every button he's pushed has produced something positive. So good on him.
I think one thing that because you and I sat in rinks all summer and would be like, man, it's gonna be a long winter. Like, this is not gonna be good. It still could be, by the way. Like, we'll get in expectations.
Right.
I'm not off of my, like, I haven't really changed my take on where this team's headed. But I think I think it was underappreciated, the new head coach bounce that teams get. Like, I think Ty Anderson tweeted the other day that Cassidy and Montgomery starting out as coaches were 3-0. Now, Montgomery started from the beginning, but Cassidy came in mid-season. So that was a true, like, new head coach bounce.
Yeah.
But I think, they play a style that as Sturm said, it's black and white. It's ground and pound. They play the perfect style for their roster. They're not trying to be anything that they are not. They are not skilled. They're big. They're kind of slow, but they play a style of game that fits that. And I think fans can get behind that. Not to mention the fact, as you said, and you know this better than I do, like, this city loves those teams. This city loves that identity. Like that, you see, there was a scrum, I think, at the end of the second period. There's a guy on the glass in the stairs, meaning he like most likely ran from his seat in a Lucic jersey, just banging on the, like, that's what the average fan likes. And I think they cater to that. Like, Aiden says, doesn't this team remind you of the Red Sox 1 to 2 years ago? I assume you're meaning 2021 when they were that likable, like, little engine that could team that went to the ALCS. I agree. The team, though, that I like, I know we're crossing sports here, God forbid, but, like, remember that 2013 Red Sox team? Remember that 2013 team that was all vets and they went on to win the World Series? That's not them. Like, I don't think the Bruins are making the playoffs, but, like, they have a lot of veterans. They went out and signed a lot of, gritty veterans in the offseason. They're high character. Like, that's kind of the same vibe. Like, that's the one I get of, like, a likable team to fans. And I think that's what they desperately needed this year.
They do. And they did. And they do. And after last year, when it was not a likable team down the stretch, it was a team where, you had to think twice, maybe sometimes, about even turning the game on on some nights. So yeah, it's a different thing. And I think I wonder how much does it's a proud franchise, right? The people in charge are proud of what the Bruins have been over the last 100 years, and the top players like Pasta and guys like that are proud too of what the Bruins have been able to do. And I think that pride helps to drive the character part a little bit, gets some of those guys going. I would
100%. I think it does. And I think not just the new head coach bounce, but I think you also get McAvoy was out for most of the end of was out for the end of last year. Hampus Lindholm, who we'll get to in a second, he was out for most of the year. Zadorov had a bad year. Like, Elias Lindholm had a bad year. Jeremy Swayman had a really bad year. Like, you have all these different things. And it's why, like, looking at this year, things are pointing up. And like that, I think that's, I'm not ready to say they're going to make the playoffs, but they're a competitive team. And I think that's more than we expected.
Yeah. And pride is part of it too. I think these guys are proud of what they are and what they do. And a year like last year takes a little bit of the shine off that. So naturally they want to get it back to where it was, kind of baby steps here to do that. But they're definitely off to a good start on the right foot.
Yeah, and this is an interesting one. I mean, we'll talk Lindholm now. I hope Hampus is healthy for the road trip, even though Harris has been good. I mean, I agree. And I think the broadcast mentioned that Lindholm is likely to go on the trip. before, or at least to go on the trip out west. You just hope this isn't something serious. You hope this isn't something that lingers either, that, can't just be like, oh, fixed with rest, because they need him. They absolutely need him. But Harris has been good. So it's like I don't think you've noticed Lindholm being out as much as you did last year. And again, it's been 2 games. So like you're going to play Vegas, you're going to play Colorado, you're going to play Utah, who's much improved. Like it will show if Hampus Lindholm is not in the lineup. So you do better hope that this isn't a long-term thing.
Well, they made a point of saying that it's not related to the injury from last year. So that's taking them at their word. That's a good development. I think I would guess that they'll take an extra defenseman along on the trip just to be sure, so that they don't have to fly a guy in, like on the day of the game. If somebody, comes down one of the 6 healthy gets sick or something happens to them, they don't have to fly a guy in at the last second. So I would guess that they'd bring someone from Providence. But yeah, I mean, the sooner you get Hampus back in there and as close to 100% as he can be, the better off you'll be. So, that's something to watch. Obviously, everybody's going to be keeping their eye on that situation.
Yeah, and it's funny because like Mike brings up an interesting point here. I'd sit Jokiharju before Harris if Lindholm is ready. I think it goes back to like no one's played their way out of the lineup. I mean, Zadorov had the terrible giveaway today. He's not coming out. Obviously, McAvoy's not coming out. Peak isn't coming out. I mean, Jokiharju does give you a third guy on the right side. Maybe it comes down to matchups. Harris, Jokiharju, they have had with Lindholm out, I think, in practice at least, as the second defenseman on that second power play unit. I think they'd be more inclined to sit Harris. What do you think?
When Hampus comes back?
Yes.
I think.
Yeah,
I think it'll be Harris. I mean, has Lohrei played so well at the beginning here that he's untouchable, in making lineup decisions? I don't know if I would go that far. He's had some good moments, but I don't think it would be out of the realm of possibility to if Harris has another good game or two to keep Harris in there, and maybe someone like Lohrei does take a seat for a game.
It's tough with Lohrei because you have the power play, and he is good on that second unit to the point where like I was sitting there when the first unit was struggling to get in the zone midway through the game. And then you see Lohrei go out there and he's successful getting shots through, and he hits the crossbar midway through that game. You wonder, like, should he be quarterbacking that first unit? Are you there yet or no?
I wouldn't say I'm there yet, but I'm getting closer. And is it Lohrei stepping up, or is it Charlie? I'm just not sure that's him, the best place for him running that power play. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, he had a bad one today. He had a bad one today. Like, it was just a bad game.
But you make a good point. Lohrei does give them something on the power play that Harris probably doesn't. I think he could be maybe competent on the power play, but I don't think he gives you that offensive zone thing that Lohrei is capable of when he's at his best. He's also capable of stuff that makes you, wonder. But so far he's been. I'm not trashing him. I'm not saying he's playing poorly, but he's had his moments so far. Good and bad. So I don't know. I guess a straight swap of Hampus for Harris would, maybe we're overthinking this, right? That's probably the case. That you just make that switch and be done with it. See what happens going forward.
I would assume that's what they do. Lefty for lefty, second pair for second pair.
Yeah.
I think that's the cleanest. Yeah. It is tough Harris has been productive. I mean, 2 points in 2 games. He's been responsible. Like, he's done everything and more that you've asked. So it's like, and he will draw back in. Like, there will be injuries. There will be guys who are
Yeah.
sick. Like, he can draw right back in. And look, I sound really cliche, and I hate when people say this, but it's a good problem to have. Not a bad problem to have there.
Yeah. Yes.
Before we get into expectations and big picture stuff, I do want to mention, make sure to subscribe to Bruins Ringside. If you're not on YouTube, we have stuff all the time. Dibs is always on one of the podcasts, Bruins Beat, Poke the Bear, Pucks with Hags. We have stuff all the time throughout the offseason. We're going to do more of these too. Let us know if you like these. And then if you don't like watching and you just like listening, well, of course, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from, Apple, Spotify, Podbean, wherever. And then lots of other great stuff at CLNS. Celtics All Access, Patriots Press Pass. Patriots looking pretty good. Oh my God. Drake May. Holy crap. Go subscribe over there. Are they a playoff team? Are the Bruins? Not. It sounded like I was saying the Patriots. So the Patriots a playoff team. The answer is yes, absolutely. They're a playoff team. I am fully bought in to the Pats being a playoff team. But are the Bruins a playoff team? Have you changed, or were you? I don't think I got your opinion on the record before the season. Were you playoffs or no playoffs, and has that changed after 4 games?
My thinking is that if they can stay in the race, in the playoff race, the wild card race, whatever, until say the trade deadline, then I'll declare it a successful season. I expect them to make the playoffs, but they can. It's up to them. They can change my mind. Going forward here. I just don't think the scoring thing is an issue. Obviously, the scoring by committee so far has worked. Will that work long term? I don't know. So, like I said, I think if they can hang in the race for a while, it will be a successful season, and anything. Making the playoffs, I think would be a pretty good accomplishment for this group. No question about it.
If they make the playoffs, and I've said this before, I think one of Sturm or McAvoy or Pasternak or Swayman will have like an all-time year. And Sturm either is the Jack Adams guy, or McAvoy's a Norris candidate, or Swayman Vezina, Pasternak MVP. Like that to me, and I'm with you. Like, I think they're competitive all year. I think they're in and around it. I think they are fluctuating in and out of the wild card, or right now, I mean, they're in, they're fully in, but it's 4 games. So come on. But I think, for the crux of the season, they'll be, kind of in that bubble, and, they're a competitive team. That's the way they play. Like, I don't think they're going to be getting blown out. The scoring by committee is not always going to work. I don't think that middle six is proven enough that where you're going to get consistent scoring out of them all the time. I think that's kind of what's going to do them in. But again, like, look at a game like today. I said it earlier, but like, they had horrible defensive zone turnovers. McAvoy doesn't usually do that. Andrew Peak usually can corral a puck along the wall. Zadorov does typically have a mistake like that. So we'll give them that. All right, that's probably going to continue happening. But the other stuff, like, then there's that too. So I think it just ebbs and flows, and they're a competitive team, and they're watchable. Like, I think people have seen through the first 4 games, and we've said it a couple times here, like, they're an interesting product. Like, I've been pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and as they're going on the road here with some late games, they're worth staying up late.
That's right. That's right. On a weeknight, like at work the next day. Like, do I want to stay up until 1 a.m. on a Thursday, Friday morning? Maybe now you do. Maybe, and the Vegas is also nasty enough that, like, I think you want to see that anyway. I like this comment. Pasto deserves an instant C on his jersey for his final shift. It was crazy. He was gassed. Pasternak was absolutely gassed in that final shift, and he still made a point to make that save, and he still made a point to drill Kucherov. And I mean, you said it earlier. He's playing like a captain. He is. I wonder when that happens.
I noticed him in the second half of the Chicago game. He looked really tired. It was the night after. It was the second game of back to back. He looked really tired against Chicago, and he didn't have a particularly good game. But
no,
laying it all out there every night. That's that's job one for the captain, right? So the fact that he's doing that on a regular basis, that's a vote in his corner for the captaincy.
Agreed. And they double shifted him, I think, on that one of the last power
Yeah.
plays. They had him go to that second unit and they kept Yoki Haru off. So there was that as well. I'm going to do a separate show on the upcoming trip because that's, obviously that's a big one coming up. But for me, how many points do you expect on the road trip? I think if you can come away with 4 of 6, however that comes, a win and 2 shootout losses, 2 wins and a loss. Like, I think you'd take that. And the way they're playing, kind of gritty style. And I also think you wonder, like, it's a good team bonding thing, that improves the character. So what do you think? What would be what's a successful road trip?
I'd take 3 points, a win, a point either way, from an OT loss.
3 straight shootout losses. That's what you think.
I think 3 out of 6 would be good. Anything more than that, I think, would really be a terrific way to start. It's tough opponents. Let's face it. A team like Boston that isn't fast. Vegas flies, Colorado flies, Utah. I haven't really watched much. I don't know. I'll bet they're faster than Boston, but
it's a good
those first two teams really get up and down the ice. So it's going to be challenging.
I'm fascinated to see how they defend and how they keep up with Colorado and Vegas. Those are the two, because like they play like in the neutral zone. Not to get too technical, and Carl's not here to pull out his whiteboard, but they play like a 1-4. And so the Bruins completely let teams, come up to them, but they try to force dump-ins. And how's that going to work against Nathan McKinnon? How's that working against Cale Makar? I'm very curious to see how they adjust or how they fare against those guys, because those are going to be like, that ain't going to be easy. That will not be easy whatsoever. So I'm curious to see what it's like, these games coming up. But I think we've hit on everything. Haven't we? Is there anything we've missed? I don't think we've missed anything. So, yeah. Divs, I hope Divs isn't frozen. I hope I'm not frozen. But, yeah. Well, that's Bruins Beat. That's live Bruins Beat. We'll end it there.